What's going on, everybody? This is the third episode of The Next Block. This episode aired back on May 12th. In it, we had special guest Market Maker, better known now as cody.algo. In the episode, we discussed all sorts of things, including Algorand NFTs, DeFi, the market at large, and so forth. It was a fantastic discussion. Cody was a terrific guest, and I hope you liked the content. If you've already watched this episode on previous channels, feel free to still give it a like, comment down below for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't already. Going forward, all new live shows will be held on this channel. On that note, I hope you enjoy episode 3 of The Next Block. Thanks. What is going on, everybody? Sorry for the delay, but we are here. We are back for another episode of The Next Block. We've got Market Maker joining us as a guest. And, just for tradition, we are at block 20,962,107. That is The Next Block. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yo, what's good?
I'm doing fantastic, guys.
Hell yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here, man. Happy to talk about these, especially these interesting times that we're going through.
Oh man, it is the most interesting time in general. For anyone tuning in, hit us up in the live chat. We will happily, answer any questions you have or talk about any, topics you want us to discuss. But let's just jump right into market sentiment because it is absolutely brutal out there, guys. What are you guys seeing?
Oh, blood.
Yeah,
Red in the
leveraged
streets.
traders getting wrecked.
Yes.
I would say over-leveraged traders getting wrecked. That's what's happening right now.
I'll be honest. I woke up like twice to check the price just to make sure that my collateral will probably be all right.
Yeah, I couldn't even sleep last night without thinking about Luna and USD.
Oh man, it's absolutely absurd. What is it at, like 1 cent right now, Luna? 1 or 2 cents now.
The lowest I saw it was trying to be like James Bond 007, but it may have bounced up a little bit. But they also just halted the block, or halted the chain. So that's big news right there.
They halted the chain.
Yep. They just stopped the chain, like 50 minutes ago, an hour ago, something like that. I saw that you posted, retweeted about it, Market Maker.
Yeah, they definitely halted the chain so no one can use the anchor protocol to inflate Luna more and it try to regain its peg through traditional market standards.
I'm surprised they waited, I guess, all the way until now to do that. I don't know if that's something they could have done earlier, but I don't know.
Well, the thing about it is supposed to be decentralized. It's supposed to be all autonomous. They're not really supposed to have that level of human intervention come in. If not, what separates it from anything else?
Yep, it's just a regular database at that point. Yeah, really kind of reminiscent of Solana to some degree in that regard, at least with the shutting down the chain. Obviously, not to the same regard with the entire ecosystem collapse, but it's certainly not good any way you slice it, that's for sure. And we've got somebody in the chat going, what's up, y'all? We buying some Luna or Algo? And I don't know about you, but I'm not buying Luna. I mean, maybe if you're feeling real risky and want to throw $10 at it and see if it comes back to like $10, who knows? But no, I'm certainly avoiding that with like it's the plague.
Yeah, I made some buys today for Algo at like 36. I wish I would have woke up about a couple hours earlier. I may have been able to scoop some of that 34 or whatever, but I'm not too worried about that. Bought some more bags at 36 cents. And right now, Algo's trading at 42. We've kind of hit back around 44, 45 cents. So maybe, we get a relief bounce. Maybe we can get back to like, a 50 cents, 60 cents Algo. I think obviously a lot of that's still dependent upon Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is at 29.3, but it did get back above 30,000. So within the last, couple hours, it did touch over 30,000. So, I don't know. What's your all's take right now? What do you think that we're going to see? Do we get any relief, or are we going to wake up tomorrow and see, Algo in the 20-cent range?
It's almost impossible to tell from here. Because we're in such volatility standards. Like it's almost gambling here. That's why you just slowly DCA back in. Never put what you can, naturally afford to lose. We could definitely go lower. We could definitely go higher. I mean, I saw Binance had to make a 40 million algo buy because they ran out of algo. They got bought out.
Oh wow!
So, but that's also going to be just that could be just temporary though in this area. Like maybe 40 cents is too cheap. You know what I'm saying? But then once we get back to 55, maybe that's too expensive again.
Yeah,
and it's just the range we go into.
Yeah, long run, I'd argue it is too cheap, but I do agree with that short term sentiment. I mean, anything goes in this kind of climate. We could realistically drop another 50 to 70%, and then that's crypto, and that is also on the backdrop of this macro environment. And I personally don't see a scenario, at least over the next couple of months, where the Federal Reserve doesn't continue with at least one or two more 50 basis point hikes. And realistically, I don't see the market turning around in that environment. Maybe we find a bottom and move sideways and just, consolidate, which would be nice. But I really don't see the environment where we turn around in these conditions, at least for the foreseeable future.
I think right now it's kind of what Silvio said, a month ago, is that speculation is over. So I feel like all these coins that we're speculating on will die out, and Algorand, as one of the most useful blockchains, will survive, in my opinion. But I think, like with the whole equities market, all the markets, it's a global reset. It's going to be a time for us that, we find our new bottoms, and that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm always talking about like Amazon stock and all that, and I talk about it a lot because it's actually a big player in the world, and you got to watch stocks like Amazon, you got to watch Apple and see what they're also doing. But one thing I made a post about it, but real estate REITs, stable coins, and Lofty AI is all doing fine. It's these super risky plays that, got crushed. And of course, no one expected Luna to go from top 10 to top 150. So that was crazy.
And we're always shouting out Lofty AI and other projects like that, but I guess it must be said that I personally do think the real estate market is likely going to come down, whether it's like 5-10% over the next couple of months, which as for a casual investor, especially for people in crypto, that's not too big of a deal. 5-10%, it'll make that up over time, and plus if you're still getting that rental cash income, it'll likely make up for any potential drop in the price of these assets, which I believe will be made up over time. But it does suck to be a home buyer right now. Anyone looking to buy a home, it is likely the absolute worst time. For sure. I'm working with a couple buyers right now. I mean, a lot of people know I'm a realtor, and it literally is the worst time to be buying a house. And I feel for the people that are trying right now. A couple of my friends are on like a $350,000 budget, and we can't find anything with rate hikes like tripling in the last couple of months, and still a lot of demand, even institutional buyers. We were at a place the other day, and we overheard somebody on the phone being like, "Yeah, let's put a cash offer on this." And it's like you're still getting people putting big cash offers on a house, even in this current climate. So it's extra hard for people that don't have that capital to be winning bids.
What's happening is BlackRock, Zillow, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, they're still buying single family homes, and that's definitely a big reason why everyone's being priced out. Real quick though, Market Maker, can you introduce yourself to the audience, and tell them about you and your show?
My name is Cody, or I go by Market Maker. I'm a long-term Algorand degen. I've been a long-term crypto degen for a long time in DeFi. I was very enticed by the idea of programmable money. But I do how-tos, how to use DeFi, like the more, how you say, advanced, level of degenery, is what I like to call it. I also work for ALGO Pulse, and I will be making educational content with them as well. And we will be working with a lot of different projects, and I work with Pact. I help explain people, why liquidity is important. And I think in times like this, it gets proven how proper liquidity procedures can prevent these bank runs procedures that happen on Luna. And this is the first time we've ever seen something like this. It's just the first time we've ever seen something like this get this big and then fail.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's really
sad. 37 billion gone, or someone has the money. To be clear about that, the money never disappears, so someone got the money, but 37 billion is gone in 3 days.
That's not necessarily true. Sometimes in these market conditions, you can actually see capital destruction as well as creation in bull markets. It's kind of fascinating. So there is a chance that like literally billions of dollars were just lost, like which is crazy. I mean, there are definitely people. There are definitely people that made money, especially the people that shorted on the way down. Probably the attacker itself as well. But yeah, overall, I mean, this was a losing battle for sure.
One thing I thought it was interesting, and I'd actually like to hear your answer, market maker. You know, being someone like me who was not around during, you know, like 2017, the BitConnect and all that, you know, crash, and even some of maybe the other bigger, you know, scam Ponzi type things that have happened in crypto. It was interesting to see that tweet that I think JT maybe put out first, or you know, someone put it out, kind of superimposing the BitConnect, you know, crash to what we just saw with the Terra Luna, and just in size, how much bigger Terra Luna's crash was in comparison. And so, you know, what is your thoughts as someone who's seen maybe, you know, some things happen in the past like that, to seeing something like this now? You know, are even things like Bitcoin right now. I know a lot of people say, oh, it won't go below this or won't go below that. But I mean, at this point, you know, it just seems like all bets are off with where most things are at.
Well, with Luna, especially the way it's fundamentally designed, it was designed to fail. It's like BitConnect in a way. I made that comparison at one point because they were promising unsustainable rewards. Yep. The only difference between BitConnect and Luna is that Luna had a lot more opportunity for market makers and large end capital to come in and keep sustained. But what you got to understand about Luna is what really broke it was the Anchor protocol itself. Yep. Now, with that, they never over collateralized anything, and then they promised unsustainable rewards.
And when they're like 20%,
20% on the UST. Now you got to think about this. That means for every $1 million you put in, that's $200,000 they had to magically come up with for you by the end of the year. Now it's okay to do that at the beginning stages, like when it's early, you know, TVL small, you do it as growth factors. But as TVL goes up, you're supposed to taper all that down, and so forth, you know, and have like a proper economic plan. Mm-hmm. And then once they never over collateralized anything, that's where the bank run issue comes in. And I mean, to be honest with you, the minute they pulled that Bitcoin, I shorted it. And it was the easiest short of my life. And like JT said, and especially the way it's designed, money can just disappear from it, and it did. Yep. Because the minute it lost its peg, with no matter what in the Anchor protocol, it still saw $1 UST, because that's the way it was designed, even though it lost its peg on the exchanges. So it was inflating Luna at a really extreme rate on the Anchor protocol, and people were able to arb that for extra money, which caused the price of Luna to go down. The only thing after they pulled that Bitcoin holding the price of UST was the price of Luna. And so, you know, it was just a bad Ponzi with bad math.
So, yeah, here's one other thing, and obviously I don't know if I know that there's been a lot of, you know, conspiracies going around about who maybe initiated this attack, and also not just who maybe initiated it. I mean, I've heard Citadel and BlackRock and, you know, all the things that I'm sure everybody had.
All that, it didn't matter. To be honest, the minute they pulled that Bitcoin, that was a perfect short squeeze for any bear in the market that noticed that, because they put that Bitcoin on the line at a cheaper price. And no one right now in these bad macro conditions are going to hold a cheap Bitcoin they just bought. They're going to flip it on the exchanges for that arb price. They just got it for 28K from these desperate dudes at Terra, and they're going to drive the price of Bitcoin down, you know. And then, like I said, Terra just took a massive loss. They bought all that Bitcoin at 40K.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was more money that just went, evaporate. You know what I'm saying?
So we're seeing this bad money management overall with Terra's foundation.
That's what I was going to say. I've seen, you know, people say that even from inside the group at Terra, that the leader Do Kwon, that he was actually a part of some, you know, Ponzi type stablecoin things in the past. And obviously I don't know the validity to that, but it's just very interesting. And I know we talk a lot about on here about how, you know, the team behind the project is very important. And that's what, you know, that's why I can wake up, you know, at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., see Algorand dropping another, you know, 15, 20% from where it was the night before. And I'm buying it because I know the team behind Algorand, with, you know, being led by a guy like Silvio Macaulay and his vision and what he's put forward for Algorand. And it was even a tweet by, I think, Mark Yusko or maybe some other guy, or no, Wolf of All Streets, I think, kind of put it out. But like knowing the difference between rational fear and irrational fear. And I, you know, there's so many things right now. And that's something that's like, you know, how does stuff like that just get swept under the rug until after the fact? Like, why is, you know, and, you know, I feel like there needs to be better due diligence on everybody's part when seeing these big, prolific figures who are, you know, so vocal. You know, he was very vocal before, just condemning anybody who questioned what Terra and Luna was going to be able to do. And then now he's eating his words, and, you know, who knows how he's financially doing, if he is somehow behind it all. You know, none of that we really know, but it is just interesting to see that so many people fall for, or still falling for, these scams, and they're only getting bigger as the crypto markets continue to grow. And if we expect, like JT said, maybe by 2030, the, you know, total crypto markets being, you know, 10 trillion or even bigger, these things could, you know, still grow and still be large. So, you know, counter to what you said, Sewell, I really don't think that, you know, all scams are just going to be squashed out and all Ponzi's and things like that are going to go away yet. I still think people need to do way more due diligence as this next, you know, as we go through the bear market and into the next bull market, really pay attention to who's behind these projects, what their actual use case and utility is, and take profits. I mean, hell, if I was buying Luna super cheap and it was up to where it was, you'd be dumb to not be taking profits above, you know, 80, 90, $100, wherever it was at before that fall.
So look, check this out. Like this also is relatable to Peloton. This is relatable to Netflix. Like the same thing has happened. Billion-dollar companies are getting wiped out, like we said, because of over leverage, a lot of debt, and bad leadership. And that's what's happening in more than just the crypto market. But Luna was just a you know, the biggest situation. And I feel like what you said, David, is true. I, especially on the way up with my passive income, a lot of people don't know, but I cash out every week. I'm always sending cash to my bank account. And sometimes I made decisions to pay the tax on it because I'm securing the bag with the cash, because I know the cash ain't going nowhere. And I think people do need to consider taking more profits on the way up. And now I'm building and you know, compounding my algos and my more solid assets. But these risky ones, yes, they probably will go to zero, or at least, you know, to 1 cent.
Yeah, and it's a tough situation because, in my personal opinion, I do think decentralized stablecoins are very important to DeFi. But I also think that this Terra Luna mishap is going to create a lot of mistrust in decentralized stablecoins for, you know, good or bad reasons, really, because I think some people don't even understand what went on and the difference between different types of decentralized stablecoins. But that being said, I do think that there's probably going to be some regulation at least talked about because of this as well. So overall, it's certainly not a good thing, and I hope it doesn't kill the dream of decentralized stablecoins, because I mean, as of right now, if you rely on centralized coins like USDT or USDC or, God forbid, a CBDC one day, I mean, DeFi won't really be DeFi if it's relying on centralized coins that could really freeze or claw back or do whatever with those coins. So I do hope that the decentralized stablecoin experiment is far from over, because we do need a strong working one. And I know the ones we have in Algorand are good. You know, they're over collateralized ones like ALGO and Guard and whatnot. But, you know, even over collateralized are probably the safest decentralized stablecoins you can get, but they are capital inefficient. So I do understand why other projects were trying to figure out ways to create stablecoins that didn't have that capital inefficiency as over collateralized ones do. But hopefully the experiment is long from over, and one day we get something that reigns supreme in this space.
One of the guys here asked a question. Do you guys think, or Market Maker, you can go, if you were going to tie something on with that, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to tie something on with that. I don't think we'll ever have a non-over-collateralized asset, because it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And the math will never add up. Because I mean, you got to think about this. We're backing these assets behind, cryptos, and then we're basing it on something that's not even in the system, which is the dollar. And there's just no way you could peg because we're trying to use something to peg it to something else. So there has to be a collateralization issue where something could be seized and liquidated, and the proper capital flow can come into the crypto. So
yeah, I do think you're ultimately right.
What do y'all think? Because I made a post about this the other day, but what do y'all think about USDC and Circle, because they're now being backed by BlackRock and I believe I can't remember the other big companies. And when I see BlackRock attached to something, I have more faith in it, like Vanguard. I know that's the big bags that are there. What do y'all think about that?
I hear what you're saying. I could understand where the not necessarily faith, but like, where it could seem more official that way, but I also have a little bit of a concern that BlackRock is just like controlling everything and will continue to buy up all the important assets of every industry and space that they enter and have huge control and tentacles throughout the entire economy. But so I have concerns about that, but I also understand that, like, from a user standpoint, I don't think people think that USDC is going to lose its peg or doesn't have its reserves. So it's a double-edged sword with that one.
Yeah.
I want to get to some of these questions we got here in the chat. One of them was, do you guys think Bitcoin could go lower to 22,000? If so, why? If not, any good news? Would love to stack more algo here. My thought there, and I don't have the chart right now pulled up. I don't know if JT can grab it quick once I say what it is, but there's a chart that shows, where the most people were buying, Bitcoin at on the way up. And 25K is actually an area, I'm pretty sure, where there is quite a lot of buys and people who are still holding Bitcoin at. And so my thought is, I know we just said that Bitcoin bounced, and right now we're sitting at still 29,000. So we did bounce off that 28, 27 area and come back up. But if we do continue to fall, and if Bitcoin does continue to fall, I think 25K could be an area of support where it holds. But if it falls through that, realistically, 16K is coming quick, I think, because there's not many buys in that in-between area there. And so that's something that I would definitely be watching. And this goes hand in hand with the other question from that was a few minutes later. I leveraged using ALGOFi, and now I'm constantly adding collateral so I don't get liquidated. Any advice for a first-time user of Algorand DeFi? This is the part that, buying crypto when you see these sales is good, I would say, if you're in fundamentally sound projects. But, when you're leveraging on the way down, it gets scary very fast, because with crypto, guys, anything can happen overnight. 50%, 30%. I mean, we just saw a top 10 crypto drop 99% in 3 days. So I think that the best advice I could give is deleverage. If you're someone who can't handle the leverage, go ahead and deleverage. There's no, I get the feeling of like, pride maybe of thinking you're right and wanting to hold on to your bags, no matter what. But at the end of the day, getting fully liquidated just because algo drops, flashes in the middle of the night, or whatever asset you're in flashes in the middle of the night and you're asleep, it's not worth losing all your money. And so live to fight another day would be my strategy. That does suck. I know that there's a lot of people getting liquidated, not only in ALGOFi, but just in the bigger crypto market. So, we're not out of the woods. I bought, recently at 36, it's probably one of my biggest buys on the way down so far. I'm hoping we see maybe a relief bounce, but it's, it's not guaranteed. We could easily see, I could wake up. I'm literally thinking I'm going to wake up tomorrow and see Algorand at 25 cents and be like, well, time to go back to the bank account, but it's a hard market, and you don't want to be leveraging on the way, you don't want to be over leveraging yourself on the way down. And just the same, you really don't want to be over leveraging yourself on the way up, because when when the volatility is so high like this is what gets people wrecked.
Yep, leverage can make you a lot of money, but it can also take all of your money away just as quickly. And I'll really second that sentiment, because I personally, even though I regretted doing it, and well, maybe, but I didn't want to do it. I had plenty of leverage, plenty of margin. I still have a little bit, but most of it was for yield farming. I didn't take really any of it out for price action. It was just to take advantage of yield farming, but I closed a lot of my margin yesterday. It's just not worth the risk, and it's not worth the headache to constantly be stressing out if it got liquidated. And even then, when the price went down last night, I was still like, oh, did I get liquidated? Even though I was well far away, but you just start second guessing things when prices are down 20 or 30%. And to the previous question about Bitcoin, I wasn't able to pull up the chart that you were speaking of, but this is it in the long term. And I will say that, yes, it certainly could come down to 22. If you look at the previous cycle peaks, we peaked here in 2013, and we came and landed on the 200-week moving average right here. And over here, we peaked in 2017 and came and bottomed right here on the 200-week moving average. Here's the peak, and here's our transition down to close to the 200-week moving average, which currently is sitting at about $22,000. So I think it is totally reasonable that it could, or it very well at least could move sideways until this moving average comes up and catches up to it. But I'm willing to bet it touches this moving average again, whether it's at 22,000 or whether it's a month from now and that moving average has moved up to 25,000. I am expecting it to come down to that moving average. Of course, it might not. All cycles don't have to repeat similarly, but I have a hunch that it's likely going to, most assets do come back and revert to their mean, so that's part of the reason I like to look at moving averages, and it really has been a macro bottom signal for the last two cycles, so I have my eyes peeled on that, and it totally could come down to 22, so keep your eyes peeled, mind your collateral, and all that jazz.
Yeah, I mean, in any, I see the next comment sitting at 50% utilization now, on AlgoFi. You also just have to remember, if you're throwing money into the, to continue collateralizing yourself as it's going down, you're also then risking more and more money of getting liquidated and more of your, and then obviously maybe you hit rock bottom. I don't know. I mean, if Algorand were to flash crash to, God heaven forbid, 10 cents or something, I mean, that would wipe out, I would assume, almost everybody that's probably leveraged right now. So, and it could happen. Like, that's where you just have to realize that, I think even Anthony Scaramucci tweeted out yesterday, it's like, leverage can make a good investment a bad investment. And I think that's the, most important thing. If you don't have the collateral to back up your, your leverage, just like, Saylor, he's deep in leverage as far as Bitcoin goes. He's got his areas, but, he also probably has many assets that if Bitcoin continues to drop, he can liquidate those to keep this one alive. And so that's where you just have to think about, when doing any leveraging.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, it's really not the time to be taking on additional risk. But I mean, we are not advisors, so of course, do what you want to do. But it is a risk-off environment for sure. And crypto is already pretty much the riskiest asset class that you can get into. So why add another layer of risk and stress to your life in these conditions by taking on a bunch of margin? So that's my thoughts.
And just another thing to add with borrowing money. When you do it, there is a science and math behind it. And that's what these hedge firms do. Like, for every $10 they put in, they put like $1 going the opposite way they're going. And this is how they hedge their risk, because, they can be wrong. Anyone could be wrong in this market, no matter how good of a trader you are. There's that moment where you're wrong, Yep. And if you're not taking proper risk assessment when you are trading, whether it be margin, options, and so forth, if you're just all betting on one direction, you're taking on extra risk then.
Yep.
So just, always prepared to be, bamboozled, because it's there.
Yeah, one of the questions here as well is, have you guys looked into becoming a liquidator? I feel like Market Maker, you might be the technical guy here to ask this question. I mean, I don't know what it takes to become a liquidator on AlgoFi, but it would be interesting, I feel like, to learn that type of skill or be able to do it. Have you guys thought about that?
I don't know what it does on AlgoFi. I know how it works on XPact. Like, you can run a bot for them and then earn the 5% arbitrage for buying that vault up and then, going and selling it for a 5% discount. I don't know how it works on AlgoFi.
AlgoFi is similar, and they give like the SDK and everything to do it. I'm not technical enough to have set up a bot, but they do give you the ability to also set up a liquidator bot. That's actually what I like about Guard, though, a little bit, because you don't really even need to have any technical experience. You can just go to their page and see what accounts could be liquidated and take part without really having any idea on how to set up a bot, which is an interesting way to go about it, because I do think allowing the community to get into it, especially the more non-technical people, is just more engaging and whatnot.
Hey, have y'all been doing any shorting of the market on even the stocks or the crypto side?
I shorted Luna the minute they pulled that Bitcoin.
So you made a bag, man.
I did short a little bit of algo at like 40 or 56 cents, 55, but then I bought most of it back up with the short, or at least I deployed some of it back in this morning at 3.6. So it wasn't a huge amount of my bag, but I definitely do a few swing trades, with that.
Well, I mean, the minute I saw them pull that Bitcoin, I knew they were desperate.
Yeah, it was a smart move.
So how'd you see them pull it? Where were you watching?
I mean, they announced it.
Yeah. They pretty much were very transparent with their moves, which I appreciate. I mean, but it didn't make a difference for them, really.
Yeah, hopefully that was a lot of signal for most people who were maybe in deep to like just sell and get out. Like, all right, I'm going to wait this on the sideline instead of trying to, hope that they fix it.
Damn.
Yeah, because like for instance, like let's say like USDT's treasury is not untrue, like like the speculators believe. Like we don't know because we haven't seen it. But if it depegs, it actually doesn't suffer quite as bad as Luna, for instance, because it's not a whole protocol where it inflates itself or something like that. If anything, it's deflating itself by that way for all these people selling at a loss, and then they could rebuy it back using Circle or Binance's protocol and stuff like that. And essentially, if they were overprinting, this is how they fix it. I'm not sure if you guys saw USDT go up to $1.13 on the USDC charts because USDC. And
I seen US Tether look like it was depegging a little bit.
It looks they deployed a lot of capital, but like I said, the main thing they have to lose off of this one is market trust. Which is like, who's going to be the winner of the next cycle kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot harder to take USDT down than UST for sure, especially as you said, the dynamic with the Anchor protocol really is what created, the downward pressure on Luna and the overinflating of the supply of Luna. So you don't really have that dynamic with USDT. Of course, you have the possibility that the attestations aren't real because they haven't gone through an audit, and we don't really know what's backing their funds. But there's not that same type of mechanism in place that would create that insane level of downward pressure just from a protocol design. I mean, of course, a crazy crypto-wide bank run could happen, and it's yet to be seen what happens in that scenario. But I do think the dynamics are totally different. Now we have, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, if you want to grab a question, that's fine. I was just going to say we can kind of maybe wrap up market sentiment and just say, like, what are your all's thoughts over the next few months, maybe, with what you're doing, what your plan is.
I'll step up to the bat. For me, I am really just waiting, honestly. The next two Federal Reserve meetings, I think they're going to continue with 50 basis point hikes. And I don't see the market turning around in those conditions. In fact, it could hurt the market a little bit more. That could already be priced in. Who knows? But I don't see a huge rebound happening. Maybe sideways movement. But yeah, really just waiting to see what the next couple months of CPI readings come. And I know a lot of us don't believe the CPI data. I personally don't. However, that data still exists, and the market still moves based on that data. So it is still good to know and be aware of. So really, I'm just waiting to see inflation come down and the Federal Reserve have an excuse to go back to 25 basis point hikes or even stop rate hiking altogether. So really, it's a waiting game. I'm in full accumulation mode. My goal is to just stack as much algo over the next 6 to 12 months as possible and hopefully come out the other side bigger and better.
And you've said many times, but where do you see maybe or possibly a zone where this bear market could end and where we could turn bullish?
Like I said, it really just depends on the next couple, in my opinion, the next couple Federal Reserve meetings. I mean, if and CPI data reads, if the next one next month or 2 months from now shows inflation having a huge inflection point and is half is where it was at this point, it could give the Federal Reserve an excuse to reduce their rate hikes and go from 50 to 25 or even 25 to 0. And that will be the point where I will be much more bullish and willing to expend the last like 15 to 20% of my stablecoin position.
Gotcha.
How about you?
Yeah, if I had to add, I'm definitely adding on, like JT said right here, just slowly DCA and back in, stacking up, slow buying as the time goes on. And you never know what can happen. Let's say we get some like clear framework regulation, especially after this Luna disaster.
Hmm.
And let's say they decide, like, things like DI and stuff like that, that's actually been through an actually full macro correction and prove that it can at least, may not be capital efficient like JT said, but at least, be honest and have
Yep.
a reserve treasury to keep everything going. That would be nice if there could be like a proper framework, because then we can actually have more capital come in and maybe crypto be the actual hedge against these, Fed rights and stuff like that and bailouts and so forth. And we can actually have a different system to go in between two. When one's doing bad, we can flee to the other, and others doing bad, we can flee to the other and work, instead of them correlating 100% together like with the NASDAQ 100. So, things are always subject to change, but they're not changing now.
Yep.
That's kind of where I can go right now. So we just got to keep our eyes peeled, just to don't overextend. And if you really truly believe in something, understand the fundamentals behind it, and believe what's going to change, we're in this for the long haul in the real world. You weren't going to get rich off of algo in a few months or any crypto, unless you're really, really lucky.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, I'm definitely in for the long haul, and I'm similar. I'm dollar cost averaging in algo. Like some of my other altcoins, I'm completely letting them go, and I'm focusing more on Algorand. And as I said earlier, the real estate type of investments. And I watch the global market just in terms of like commodities, like with the war happening right now, wheat is going up, which means food prices are going up everywhere. So I'm just tapping into everything and just watching and choosing the best assets that I believe could survive all these, market conditions that are happening. But I feel, based on my research of just the global standings, things are only going to get worse in terms of inflation and what prices of all of our assets are going down and our prices going up, spending buying power going down, the whole cycle. But I think that's definitely what's happening based on war and COVID is still around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with capitalism, it's a boom bust economy, and we are certainly in the bust side of that cycle. So, and it could be a long cycle. I personally, if you want my personal opinion, I don't see us hitting new all-time highs until probably 2024.
Yes.
But that's people like roll their eyes at that, but realistically, honestly, that fits perfectly with the 4-year cycle anyway. So it's not like outside of the norms of crypto to wait that long through a bear market till you get the next bull cycle. So
I'll say this too, like y'all need to read more books. I'm talking to the audience now. Study Money Master the Game, figure out how to build your all seasons portfolio, think of other asset classes. That's the safe haven is to spread your money around into more markets and not just crypto. But definitely get your education on. Money Master the Game is a good way to start.
Yeah, I mean, even in this bear market, you can still make a little money. Like even in like 2018, 2019, people could have bought Bitcoin around 3K and sold it around 12K if they, timed it perfectly, or even 10K even then, if you saw the macro downtrend then. There's just not going to be those all-time highs or great gains that are to be made until, I mean, traditionally we've always relied on Bitcoin halvings, and nothing seems to be changing from that anytime soon.
No.
Yeah. At least as of right now, the Bitcoin halving cycle is still completely in play. It might eventually peter out. Maybe the next cycle will be the last one. Who knows? But yeah, as of right now, it still very much is in play. We have a question here that I just want to touch on real quick before we move on. What's the difference between stable, AlgoFi stablecoin, and UST, Terra stablecoin? The main difference is over collateralization, where with UST, basically you were burning $1 of Luna to mint 1 UST, so there's no over collateralization at all. And in fact, once the price of Luna dropped, some were saying that really there's no value left behind UST, where stable is backed by, I believe, like 140% over collateralization. So there is even if a market drawdown happens, there's still wiggle room of over collateralized assets backing that money, and if the market comes down enough, they'll just liquidate your position and pay back that stable. So there's a huge difference in over collateralized stablecoins. They are the safest version of decentralized stablecoins. I mean, realistically, the safest dollar to hold is the US dollar. It's the actual dollar. And then from there, probably the centralized ones like USDC. And then from there, your over collateralized decentralized stable coins. Anything past the over collateralized decentralized ones, you're taking on super, super risk for sure.
Yeah, it's my opinion to like definitely leave some of your money with these central authorities. So they're going to protect the money really well. Not all of it, but I definitely have a firm belief. Give some to the people that we don't trust. I do trust that they're going to protect their money, basically.
Yeah, fair enough opinion. I mean, I do hold some USDC, but that's primarily just because I'm yield farming in the stable USDC.
That's the only one
farm.
I touch is the USDC. I don't really trust the rest of them.
Let's see.
And I guess I was right so far.
Yeah, so far so good. All right, we've got a question a little whiles back from Ryan McDonald. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. And he's saying, ask Market Maker about the NFT NYC coming up. So I figure I might as well ask you about that.
Going to NFT. Gonna go chill some algo NFTs around. Wear my Mingo stuff like this right here.
Nice.
Nice. Definitely, go to like Jeff Malco's party. Algorand's supposed to have some kind of event there, so I'm gonna go check that out. And I feel like it'll just be a great networking opportunity to meet people from different networks. And I especially think after this Bored Ape drop with Gwei shooting up to like 7K at one point, would be a really compelling time for me to try to really branch out to these different networks and show people Algorand and be like, hey, yeah, you never have to worry about 7K Gwei. So yeah, I feel like it's just going to be a good networking opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been trying to get to more events. I wanted to go to Consensus, but it ends the day I'm supposed to be leaving for a cross-country trip to Colorado, and I was like, I really shouldn't just fly to Texas and then fly back the last day and then drive to Colorado the day I get back. It wouldn't be great, even though I do certainly regret that I'm not going out there. Somebody tried to give me a pretty cheap ticket actually too, so I could have got there.
I can't go. I can't go either. I got to go to California for a family trip.
You're all over the place, man.
Man.
Yeah. I'd much rather go to Consensus because I live in Texas.
Oh wow.
I'm getting married the day before Consensus, so it's just not going to happen.
Congrats, man.
Congrats.
Hell yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, no, I wanted to go to the Algo talks that's going on in Miami tonight, but it's only like a 3-hour drive. But I would say it would be a 3-hour drive, but it's like 6 o'clock, and it's right there in Wynwood, right where the Decipher event was held. So I'm like, I just know if I try to get there, that 3-hour drive is going to turn into like 4 or 5 probably with traffic. So sadly, I won't be able to make that tonight.
Oh, this is on another note real quick. Y'all see Charles Hostic, how you saying Charles from Cardano's speech about, the market?
I haven't
yet. Fill us in.
So basically, it's this whole thing where people are saying, you will own nothing and be happy, right? Y'all heard about that?
Yeah. The Great Reset type.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically overall what he was talking about, and I've been hearing about that concept a while. Like, what do y'all feel about that? Do you believe some truth there? We can kind of see it in the market, especially with housing.
Here would be my only, or at least my thought of why we won't go there. I mean, obviously, I think to some effect, if you look far enough into the future, I mean, even right now, realistically, most people, I would say the majority of Americans, you don't own your phone, you don't own your car, you don't own your home, you rent literally everything. You don't own Netflix, you rent and you pay a subscription. Like, it's already kind of here, but I do believe that as, and especially with, the generations, like my son who's about to be born and people whose kids are being born right now, the future they want, come into, sadly, I do think that there will be less ownership, even though what we're seeing with Web3 is this whole idea of being able to, own, improve ownership of things. I think, sadly, the wealth gap is going to, in the capitalist market that we live in, I feel like that wealth gap and wealth disparity is only going to get worse. And so, yeah, I do think that more of the big institutions and the big players are going to just end up owning more. But I don't think it'll forever go away where, like, people just won't own anything. But the whole idea of you won't own anything and be happy, I don't know. I feel like it's just it's definitely an interesting topic, but I hope not. I mean, I think owning is a good thing, right? Actually owning something that you can say is yours and it has value is a good thing. And I don't think it being in the power of, just the 1% is what, is going to make the world a better place. And I feel like that's why, Algorand and things where, its cost is so low and people in any country, any nation could participate and be able to buy NFTs or transact on the network. And this whole idea of decentralization in Web3, that's why I'm so excited about it. It's why I want to be behind it and want to see it grow, because it fights that idea that these top 1% people are going to own everything and the 99% are not, and you'll be happy with it.
Yeah, I will say it's less of a conspiracy theory too, and just kind of like an outright goal of the WEF, if we're being honest. I mean, this right here is a tweet of theirs from 2016, the World Economic Forum. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. It is the type of world that they are trying to create, and it is kind of terrifying if you think about it. But I do agree with your point, David, that we are somewhat already there. I mean, a lot of people do not own their cars or their own homes, or really much that they use on a daily basis or the most important things to them. So in a sense, we are kind of there. I do worry a little bit more on the privacy side of that, because, like, to some degree, subscription models and things like that, they're not all that bad, but the loss of privacy will be the nail in the coffin if we get to that point.
And then
Market maker, what you think?
I definitely think you guys are pretty on point there. A lot of things are essentially borrowed or lended, and that's just unfortunately a capitalist market, especially when there's so much control in one, like traditional markets are now. Like the rate of, like, the middle class gets smaller and smaller every year. Mm-hmm. And that's also the rate of attainable people reaching to the top class as well. That gap gets smaller and smaller each year. So something has to be corrected at some point, like a reset, Yeah. Like, it has to go to zero. They can't just keep pushing it up forever and keeping the same people. Because, I mean, if you look at, like, even like Congress now, like the age difference is insane.
Oh my God, 80 plus.
Well, yeah. I think the average rate is between high 50s and low 70s, or the most, like, thick demographic, and that just shows, like, how we're so unwilling to try change. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that might change later. Eventually, saying that we're going all the way to 2030 that long is a little bit of an overstatement, I would say.
Yeah.
Because people get frustrated real fast and want change. And when people demand change and enough people have the same mindset, things will change. I've always noticed that.
Yeah, and then you start talking about CBDCs, like, with the whole not having privacy. Like, I know some people get really excited about the thought of CBDCs maybe being built on Algorand, but even CBDCs, like, there's a negative, side to those, that I don't think. I mean, I get it why you might be excited, because that would bring so much activity to the network, but there's another side of that I think people need to consider as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is no privacy with blockchain, truly, because everything could be researched. You could figure out actually who's kind of using the damn wallet for the most part. But go ahead, market maker.
I was going to say, I remember as a kid when the internet was first invented, and the first fear is that we would have too much privacy. Like, too much freedom in a sense, because anyone could just say anything they wanted on the internet and get posted. And, as time goes on, that really became almost untrue. In a sense, it's still kind of true, because there's just so many different. If one platform fails, we just go to another. But even with blockchain, we thought, you know, there was going to be too much privacy in that with Bitcoin at first, and then that ended up being, you know, also untrue, you know. So we'll just have to see how much, you know, privacy you can have held, because I am bullish on private chains as well too. If you guys don't know, I actually mine and hold a decent amount of Monero.
What about secret network?
It's all right. At least you can like load Monero in there, so then you can actually make a transaction private by default, as long as you have those private features set on that wallet correctly when you do deposit the Monero. But also it's Cosmos and very untested, especially when you're doing those kind of features on there.
Yeah, so, they got rocked.
Yeah, Concordium, it was a blockchain that was at the Paris Blockchain Summit with Algorand. Fox River DevOps, I think, is his Twitter handle. He actually tweets out quite a bit about Concordium. I did a little bit of research and just kind of looking into it. You know, it's going to be a type of privacy network, but there is a centralized aspect to it where technically, you know, they can vote, or I don't know if it's like a DAO or something where like they could vote to, you know, uncover an identity, because you make an identity, but then it's, you know, it's not revealed to everybody else. But hey, I don't know, it's not fully, I guess, you know, like XM or like Monero and stuff. But that is one that, you know, I saw that has, you know, it's not really like in the US though. I think it's in somewhere over in the, you know, Europe area. But
see, the thing about Monero is it's very decentralized. Like they use a random X algorithm where it actually blocks ASIC chips and GPUs from participating in the network, and only regular home CPUs can work on the algorithm. And then it's private by default, which means that you can't turn the privacy feature off. Every transaction is private on chain, no matter what. And that adds like a very compelling feature when you start talking about real privacy, you know. Is this
probably why the IRS has a lot of money to pay anybody if they can ever break it?
And they haven't paid that bounty yet. That should be
noted. Out there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good point though. That you know, Algorand has been talking about adding a privacy layer, but privacy layers that you get to choose to use are generally not as safe as privacy by default. And that is another thing Monero has going for it over other proof of work chains like Bitcoin, is that its algorithm is ASIC resistant. So you don't have, you know, these giant companies spending tens of thousands of dollars on like professional mining equipment and being, you know, the only miners of the network. So I'm a big supporter of Monero too. But before we get too far in the weeds, and we've only got a couple minutes left, let's transition a little bit to Napster. I know recently Hivemind and Algorand acquired Napster, and this is a big deal. They have 5 million users, $8 million of monthly revenue. They made about $100 million in revenue in 2020. They have a deal with BMW as well. I think it's a absolutely huge piece of news that's kind of flying under the radar, maybe because of the FIFA news that overshadowed it or what have you. But I think this is a lot bigger than people seem to believe. And I also think it just shows great strength for Algorand in regards to the creator economy. We've got LimeWire, we've got Napster, we've got, you know, Opulus, we've got Dequency. You know, there's so many more that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but this is a very creator economy centric chain, and it's really exciting. What do you guys think of the news?
I think it is amazing because Algorand, again, is pushing itself into the position of real utility. Like I'm always talking about passive income, but I'm like, okay, let's get music royalties. We definitely, I love the music royalties. It's great. And if we can get bigger artists, like I'll say a Drake or a Taylor Swift to tap in, or Adele or somebody, Beyonce, it's only going to blow up more. And I think a decentralized future is on the way. More blockchains are going to get eliminated because they're too expensive, and Algorand still stay cheap. Everything's good there. That's my quick opinion.
I feel like for me, this is coming from someone who I used LimeWire back in the day. I never used Napster. So my experience with Napster is, you know, I didn't use it growing up, but nonetheless, like JT said, it is cool to see, you know, so many different, you know, options when it comes to, you know, music, decentralizing the music industry being built on Algorand with LimeWire, the song that owns itself, Napster, Dequency, you know, all these different things. So it's cool to see Opulus. Didn't mean to forget that one, but it's cool to see so many different options, available, just in case if one of them doesn't pan out, there's other things and there's other ways in which something else maybe better could grow. So I think it's just super bullish to see the competition coming. Obviously, Silvio is a very big proponent in competition, makes everything better, because then you're not just being comfortable, you're trying to push for bigger and better things.
Is any one of them like Spotify or Audius?
Yeah, Napster is a streaming platform that could compete with Audius for sure, especially because it has the bigger, more established name brand. And not only are they acquiring it, but Napster was a publicly traded company, and they're taking it private and turning it into like this full Web3 business model, which is super interesting. I really can't wait to see what comes from that. And to be honest, the 5 million user base, could you imagine if even just like 1 million of those people, 2 million of those people started opening up wallets? I mean, that is a lot of wallets, especially comparative to where we're at now.
And it could really have some interesting effects later on, especially after they get established. What if it's like a security with the utility token? You catch what I'm saying? So there's going to be links to bring some of that more traditional finance money into our market through maybe a more simplified way of doing it through the owned company's liquidity and so forth. So I'm interested to see what model they're going to make and how it's going to be designed, from a financial aspect right there.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's very, very well said.
Let me hate on this comment real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
It's talking about Billie. Remember, Billie Eilish started because she was just posting songs on SoundCloud. I would say no. Billie Eilish, if you research her and her family are Hollywood writers, and they've been plugged in for a long time. So she's a Hollywood baby that can, so that's the truth. Like, people got to understand the social connections, and it's nothing about what people really think it is. Like, and I worked in Hollywood in the film industry. It's about who you know.
Yep.
Mostly it's about who you know and were you born in it? Were you starting on Mickey House, Playhouse, and things of that nature? So Billie Eilish is definitely a Hollywood baby. So
because she was also one of the ones who recently, I don't know what music award festival it was that they were doing it, but she was like winning so many awards that no other artist before had done. I mean,
they got to do it.
Hollywood it's so like it's like vomit worthy about how like
incestual it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a big we won't jump off too far. All right.
Yeah, there's a rabbit hole we could dive down.
We covered Napster.
Let's talk about Opulus.
Yeah, I know we had on the docket. Let's cover Opulus and Yieldy real quick. Both of them had some news. So I'll start with Opulus. Opulus obviously dropped the MFTs are in the wallet for anybody who's invested in the Lil Pump. They're also going to be at the end of the month dropping the Kyle or Super Duper Kyle. So interested to see. I do like the user interface of the Opulus dashboard with when I went to claim it. It was pretty smooth. I didn't have any issues. I know there's going to be people in the chat already screaming utility. I agree. I'm still there with you. The utility right now for the Opulus token is only staking and getting early on these MFT drops. Lee, I've had him on as an interview. He has said, publicly and even on my interview that there will be future utility where he plans to make it to where the only way you can invest in these MFTs is with Opulus. That it will be, we'll have to wait and see, what that looks like. But, it's still bullish. I do like, what Opulus is doing. I love the idea behind it. And I'm excited to, now that I have my dashboard, I'm excited to see once they start adding in the royalties and being able to track it, what that looks like.
Yeah, and I'll add too, it's sort of like Opulus or Lofty. They did send us tokens that represents our share in the Little Pump music. So the NFT we have not received yet, but we received the asset that represents our share. And so I'm happy to see that Opulus is coming through on that point. I think I said it maybe a month ago or whenever. I definitely sold out of Opulus months ago, and I'm not supporting the token at the moment, but I do like the business model. I like the products, and I love the idea of music royalties, and that's something I can pass on to my future generations. And so I'm seeing it in that aspect.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to say real quick, Shek, Juarez, no worries. It was all love too. I see your comment.
Yeah, I'll just second everyone kind of knows my opinions at this point on Opulus, but I think the business model itself is a great idea. Of course, investing in music in general is a terrific idea, and I think that they could be very successful in selling these NFTs now rebranded to MFTs. That there still is an argument to be made on whether the token itself, the Opal token, will be useful. It could be totally not useful at all, and they still could have a good business model selling their MFTs. So I kind of lean with you. I still do hold some Opulus just because I was like, by the time I wanted to get rid of it, I was like, it's too low of a price. I'll just wait to see if it pops up. But in my humble opinion, it has been too long for real utility for that project. So I am looking for a pump to get out of the token. But I still certainly support the business model and the idea of investing in music. And who knows, if they have a good artist that I like, just because I'm not a big fan of the token right now, I still might buy the song, depending on if it's a good investment or not. But
yeah, I bought in on Little Pump and Ard Az. I don't know who Ard Az is. I watched one interview, but I was just like, yeah, let's go for it. So I just, a little bit, not like nothing super crazy, but I do like to test out these type of asset classes. And since it's running on Algorand, of course, the favorite blockchain, I have way more trust. And I always say Algorand's a government coin, and I'm still confirmed with that. They ISO 22, so we'll hear more about that in November. It's a MIT based. A lot of them guys, are tapped in with America, and that's always good in terms of us investing in, certain businesses.
Yeah, we have to be clear too. Algorand Inc. does have some pretty deep connections, but the protocol itself is still a decentralized protocol. It's still, whether they have connections to government agencies or not on the Inc. level is likely true, but the protocol itself is still very decentralized. So I just wanted to clarify that. But let's touch on Yieldly real quick and then wrap it up from there. So Yieldly recently announced that they are acquiring WagMeSwap and are officially going to have a DEX and continue on their way of trying to be the pancake swap of Algorand, which is really, which is nice. I've personally thought it was a regretful decision that they decided to can their decentralized exchange plans. So it is nice to see that they're bringing it back. But do you guys think it's too little, too late? What do you guys think?
I think. Go ahead.
I just want to say something first. So obviously, everybody knows pretty much that we all sold out of our Yieldly quite a while. Although JT, I think you maybe bought back in some. I don't know if you still hold it, but the only thing that makes me laugh about it, and I hope, like don't get me wrong, like I hope Yieldly does resurrect, get back on, do what Smilecoin did. I'm actually going to be having an interview with the CEO from Smilecoin tomorrow, so I'll have that on the channel. They kind of had a bumpy start and a lot of people lost faith. And what they did is they went and they started building, and now they have a product that they're trying to bring to the market and whatnot. And so I don't know if Smilecoin is going to ultimately work out. It may not. It may, just like Opulus, it may work out. It may not. But at least they're trying to build and do what they initially set out to do. That's where I'm at with Yieldly as far as what they're doing right now. Is like, hey, at least they have a plan, a roadmap ahead. Hopefully, it's like the 3rd or 5th or 18th roadmap I've seen. Hopefully they follow through on said roadmap. But the only thing that kind of made me laugh was when they tweeted it out, they said, as Algorand's leading DeFi suite. And I what are you leading in? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the highest yields, remember?
They lost that spot real quick.
that APY being 2 million or 2 billion or something insane. Like, I mean,
to be real, their TVL got so low that they blacked out the TVL on their website for a while, and then they just completely removed the metric altogether. So now you can't even see the TVL metric on their website because in my opinion, it went too low and it was kind of embarrassing. So they just got rid of the metric.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly
Market
what
maker,
they did.
You'll know this. I was one of the ones who bought into ALGO Sands first Gen 1, Algo Sands, and of course the one I bought was of Seb, and I'm like, dang, I wonder if I'll ever be able to sell that thing again. Right now, I will say it's playing out well. I'm at least going to get a Pioneer banana, and I'm going to get an awesome Gen 2 for Algo Sands. So it's going to pay off for something, but I'll probably never get the USD value I spent on that one.
My opinion, I think Yieldly did though.
Yeah, with Yieldly, I would like it if they didn't have to outsource all this work. That's my main thing. Like they're outsourcing, Shenzhen from the AMM. They're outsourcing Choice for they're JavaScripts, and I really don't like the whole choice partnership.
Yeah,
I feel like there was little to no research done, and then the man is being almost malicious with his definition of a smart contract with the community.
Yeah,
very malicious at this point, and so.
Yeah, I think they lost too many devs whenever that happened, and they didn't. I mean, obviously, I know they tried to roll out the Medium article saying that they just had a shuffling of people, but I feel like they lost some really key people, and I don't think they've replaced that level of, you know, I don't know if it's just the developers and on the back end side, front end side, I don't know what it is, but yeah, I definitely think they've not been able to find the right pieces, because even like when I saw it, like, you know, creating your own versus acquiring, having your own governance with the Yodlee token versus now you know, letting Choice Coin help you, even the whole burning situation with, you know, Headline. I don't know. It just seems like they're scrambling to stay relevant. And I feel like maybe, you know, this is the, you know, thing I've told people who are still holding Yodlee that I know. It's like, maybe it will have this phoenix rising from the ashes, but I don't think Yodlee's in the ashes yet. I think it's still falling, and I'm not trying to catch that knife. The
thing about Yodlee right now, especially like they don't have a core team, and they didn't really have. I don't want to say which founder I was talking to at Denver, but I was talking to a really smart founder who's a very economically smart, and one of the concerns they had with Yodlee was they didn't really have a revenue process to keep developers there building. And especially since they were promising all these products. I guess
Oh, did we lose you for a second?
Yeah, a little bit.
No, we might have lost you for a second.
Yeah.
But your audio going though. I know. I don't think he knows his audio is off.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, you went down to 0 out of 10 network connection there, market maker. But yeah, do we have anything good to end off with? Any good notes that we could leave off with for our listeners, real quick?
Yes. All right, I got this. I'm gonna say something. So, this opportunity right now, I know the market sucks. I got green behind me because I woke up this morning and the first thought was like, man, it sucks watching algo drop, and it sucks seeing the market act the way it is, especially when Algorand has been doing amazing things this year. Like, it has been building constantly, making huge partnerships, really showing, you know, its strength in this market, I feel. Yet stuff like Bitcoin, stuff like Terra Luna, just, you know, crashing the whole market, and all the scams and Ponzi's that are out there. It sucks. But here's my like raw, like, you know, gather the troops, you know, wherever you're at in life, wherever you live, like, this is the time to, if you're not building in the ecosystem, find some way to plug in with something, help build Algorand up. It doesn't matter if you're just liking and retweeting stuff and just getting the word out there, like, do it. And as far as like accumulation right now, if you're in America, you live in one of the, what I would say, one of the greatest countries to go work, make as much money as you can right now and invest it in solid assets. I'm not saying to go buy Algorand, do your own research, find what you're bullish on and what you're behind. But right now, and for the next maybe 6 months, 12 months, is when the millionaires and the big holders and the big players in the future network of this Web3 are going to be formed. So, you know, take advantage of this right now. Don't see it as just the sky is falling, the world is ending, and all the negative gloom. You know, see this as a golden ticket, golden opportunity to get out there and change your life.
Facts.
For sure. If you're investing in things that you actually believe in that will withstand the test of time, really bear markets are a blessing in disguise. And I just want to do a quick rundown on a couple metrics real quick to give some hope back into the crowd. You know, we've got Algorand over the last year going from about 11 million accounts to close to 26 billion accounts, which is, you know, over 100% increase in accounts over the last year. You see the average account balance decreasing rapidly, which is a good thing. That just basically means the whales are distributing to new hands, so there's less and less whales over time. There's still a whale concentration that we have to get over. But you can even see down here the TPS is on a steady increase over, you know, the span of the life cycle of the network. So things are looking good. Things are firing at all paces. There's partnerships left and right. There's so much going on. Really, just stay the course, build your bags, and you know, hopefully you'll come out the other side better and stronger. Hey, we're back.
Yeah.
Market maker, you got anything?
No. I mean, you guys pretty said everything at the end pretty well. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and look forward next time I come on, guys.
Oh, yes,
Of course. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for chatting with the audience and chatting with us, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Most definitely, man.
All right. If we any last words from the crowd, anything you guys want to add, David or C. Will, before we wrap it up?
Nah, I'm gonna go out and chill by the pool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds terrific.
I'm going to the beach.
All right.
Awesome. I'm jealous. It's still like 55, 60 degrees.
You gotta get down south.
It's almost I think it's going to be in the 70s tomorrow or the next day for the first time in like 7 or 8 months. So I'm excited.
I don't know how you do it.
Honestly, every time I talk to you, I'm like looking up houses in Florida like every other day, just like planning my exit.
We're on a duplex together. Let's do it.
Hey, I mean, we'll talk, yeah. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate y'all tuning into the episode of the Next Block. I believe are we tuning in on Monday for Algorand Mondays?
I think I'll be down.
We'll let you guys know about that, but
yeah, I'm good to go.
All right, well, we will see the crowd on Monday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Peace, y'all.
See you guys.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.